In the small village of Fatima in Portugal lived a little girl named Lucia Santos. It was the spring of 1917 during World War I. Lucia, who was then 9 years old, would go with her two cousins, Francisco and Jacinta Marto, to graze their sheep every day. As they were looking after their sheep one day, they saw a dazzling, beautiful young man, seemingly made of light. They were very surprised and a little scared. The figure then spoke to them and told them not to be afraid. He said he was the angel of peace and had come to tell them to pray to the Lord and adore him. The kids joined the angel in prayer as he had asked. In the autumn, the children again saw the angel as they were looking after the sheep. He appeared before them, holding a chalice in his hands.
What do you think we should do? I am afraid that if we tell anyone about this, they will make fun of us.
The children did not tell anyone about these visits of the angel and decided to keep quiet about these events. On May 13th, 1917, the three children took their flocks out to pasture in the small area known as the Cova da Iria. After lunch and the rosary, they suddenly saw a bright flash of something like lightning, followed quickly by another flash in the clear blue sky. They looked up to see, in Lucia's words, a lady clothed in white, brighter than the sun, radiating a light more clear and intense than a crystal cup filled with sparkling water lit by burning sunlight.
Who are you? Where did you come from?
Do not be afraid. I will not harm you. I come from heaven.
What do you want?
I have come to ask you to come here for 6 months on the 13th day of the month at this same hour. Later, I shall say who I am and what I desire, and I shall return here yet a 7th time.
The lady opened her hand and streamed a light on the children that followed them to see themselves in God. She also had a request.
Say the rosary every day to bring peace to the world and to end the war.
With that, she began to rise into the air, moving towards the east until she disappeared. The children could not believe what had just happened. They were so happy. They narrated this incident to their parents and their neighbors. But nobody believed them, and they started making fun of them. In June of 1917, the three little children were ready for their second meeting with the Virgin Mary. Around 50 people from their town had also gathered there. The three children assembled near the holm oak tree where the lady had appeared before. There was sudden lightning, and immediately after, the lady appeared before them. The kids were overjoyed at the sight of Our Lady. The people who gathered there could see nothing but a slight cloud just a few inches away from the foliage.
What does your grace want of me?
I want you to come on the 13th of next month to pray the rosary every day and to learn to read. Later, I will tell you what I want.
Can you take me to heaven?
I will take Jacinta and Francisco shortly, but you will stay here for some time to come. Jesus wants to use you to make me known and loved. He wishes to establish the devotion to my Immaculate Heart throughout the world. I promise salvation to whoever embraces it. These souls will be dear to God, like flowers put by me to adorn his throne.
Lucy was sad to hear this. She asked the lady,
Am I to stay here alone?
No, my daughter. Are you suffering a great deal? Don't lose heart. I will never forsake you. My Immaculate Heart will be your refuge and the way that will lead you to God.
Then she opened her hands and emanated her light on the children. After this, she disappeared. The crowd now saw Lucia rise quickly to her feet. Stretching out her arms, she cried,
Look, there she goes! There she goes!
Witnesses reported that when Our Lady left the tree, it was like the hissing of a distant rocket. When they turned their eyes back to the blessed holm oak, they were surprised to see the highest branches, which before were standing upright, now inclined towards the east, as if they had been trod upon. When they reached the village, they told everyone how happy they were for having gone to the cova. The people arrived in groups to place carnations on the holm oak and knelt to say the rosary at the cova during the next days. Some of them even approached Lucia, seeking Our Lady's help in curing the sick and conversion of sinners. On July 13th, around 2,000 to 3,000 people gathered around the cova, hoping to witness the miracle themselves. The three children assembled at the cova and again saw the indescribably beautiful lady over the holm oak tree. Lucia asked what she wanted, and Mary replied,
I want you to come here on the 13th of next month and continue to pray the rosary every day in honor of Our Lady of the Rosary, in order to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war, because only she can help you.
Who are you? Can you perform a miracle so that the people present here can believe?
Continue to come here every month, and I will perform a miracle all shall see, so that they believe.
Then Lucia spoke of the petitions of the people.
Some I will cure, and others not, and all must say the rosary every day with their family.
And she added,
Sacrifice yourself for sinners, and say many times, especially when you make some sacrifice, O Jesus, it is for love of you, for the conversion of sinners, and in reparation for the sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
When Mary spoke these words, she opened her hands, and rays of light from them seemed to penetrate the earth, so that they saw a terrifying vision of hell, full of demons and lost souls, amidst indescribable horrors. Frightened, deathly pale, the little ones raised their eyes to Our Lady for help as Lucia cried out,
Oh, Our Lady!
This vision of hell was the first part of the three-part secret of Fatima, which was unknown until the writing of Sister Lucia's third memoir. The children looked up to the sad face of the Blessed Virgin, who spoke to them kindly.
You have seen hell where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to end, but if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out during the pontificate of Pius XI. When you see a night illumined by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given you by God that He is about to punish the world for its crimes by means of war, famine, and persecutions of the Church and of the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecutions of the Church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she will be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world.
This concludes the second part of the secret. The third part was not made public until the year 2000 at the beatification ceremonies of Jacinta and Francisco Marto. Mary specifically told Lucia not to tell anyone about the secret at this stage before continuing.
When you pray the rosary, say after each mystery, "O my Jesus, forgive us, save us from the fires of hell, lead all souls to heaven, especially those who are most in need."
Lucia, her heart aching to do something heroic for Her Lady, once again said to her in childlike abandon,
Don't you want anything else from me?
No, today I desire nothing else from you.
At this point, something like thunder was heard, and a little arch that had been set up to hold vigil lanterns shook as if there had been an earthquake. Lucia rose, turning around so fast that her skirt flared.
There she goes.
She shouted, pointing up to heaven.
There she goes. She's gone.
The small, grayish cloud vanished. As soon as the children recovered, a ruthless, inquisitive crowd surrounded them, all saying at once, "Lucia, what did the lady say to make you look so sad?"
It's a secret.
"Is it something good?" they asked.
For some, it is good. For others, it is evil.
They pressed her to say the secrets.
No, I cannot tell it.
She answered with convincing determination. The people kept pushing so much that they almost smothered the children. Their parents, who too were hiding, were worried about their kids' safety as the crowd kept pushing them. They were relieved a few moments later when they saw Jacinta being taken away on the shoulders of her father, Francisco in the arms of a relative, and Lucia being carried by a very, very tall man. After the third apparition, the children spent most of their time saying prayers. But whenever they were out on the streets, people gathered around them to question them about the apparitions. The magistrate of the town, who was silently observing what was happening, didn't like what was going on. When he heard about the apparitions of Fatima, he realized the effects they might have among the people.
If I allow this to go on, the church will rise again very soon. No one will respect me, and I will become the laughingstock of this town. I must put an end to this, once and forever.
On the day of the fourth apparition, the magistrate arrived at Lucia's doorstep on a horse carriage. He made the children believe that he would take them to the cova, and they boarded the carriage. When they started moving, it was Lucia who suspected something was not right.
This is not the way to the Cova da Iria.
Oh, that. You see, we will take a quick stop to meet the pastor, and then we will go to the cova.
They soon reached his house, and he quickly grabbed the children out of the carriage and locked them in a room.
You won't leave this room until you tell me the secret. And if you don't, the executioner is on his way. And you know what will happen next.
The children remained calm and did not answer him a word. The magistrate soon left the building, thinking of returning back after some time. After a long wait, the door opened, and instead of the executioner, there stood the magistrate's wife. She was a kind woman and allowed them to play in the garden. They were shifted to the local prison the next day. During the following days, the children were interrogated, threatened, and even promised money to to divulge the secret. But the kids were determined that they would rather die than reveal the secret. When people learned of what was going on, they were enraged. They filed outside the prison in uproar, shaking their fists, swinging their staffs. Everyone was restless.
No, I cannot let them leave just like that. I have to learn about the secrets.
The magistrate had no options left, and he had to let the children leave. On the following Sunday, the 19th of August, the children, according to their custom, went to the Cova de Iria after Mass. There, they said the rosary, then returned to Aljustro. After lunch, Lucia, together with Francisco and his elder brother John, left for a place called Valinhos, not far away. It was around 4 o'clock. Lucia became aware of the signs that always immediately preceded the apparitions of Our Lady. The sudden cooling of the air, the paling of the sun, and the typical flash. Their faces brightened up as they realized that they were to experience the supernatural again.
What does your grace want of me?
I want you to continue to come to the Cova da Iria on the 13th and to continue to say the rosary every day.
Can you perform a miracle so that all might see and believe it's really you?
Yes, in the last month, in October, I shall perform a miracle so that all may believe in my apparitions.
Looking very sad, Mary then said,
Pray very much, and make sacrifices for sinners. For many souls go to hell, because there are none to sacrifice themselves and pray for them.
Saying this, the lady took leave of her little friends and began to rise towards the east as before. By now, the children had thoroughly absorbed Mary's plea for prayer and penance and did everything they could to answer it. They prayed for hours while lying prostrate on the ground. They knotted some pieces of old rope around their waists as a form of mortification, not removing them day or night. On September 13th, very large crowds began to converge on Fatima from all directions. The children arrived around noon. After the customary flash of light, they saw Mary on the holm oak tree.
Continue to pray the rosary in order to obtain the end of the war. In October, our Lord will come, as well as Our Lady of Dolores and Our Lady of Carmel. Saint Joseph will appear with the child Jesus to bless the world. God is pleased with your sacrifices. He does not want you to sleep with the rope on, but only to wear it during the daytime.
Lucia then began to put forward the petitions for cures, to be told,
Yes, I will cure some, but not others. In October, I will perform a miracle so that all may believe.
Saying this, Our Lady began to rise as usual and disappear. During the last 3 apparitions, Our Lady promised the children that the last time she would appear, in October, she would effect a miracle that everyone would see and thereby believe. Lucia had repeated this promise to others, and the news of it had spread like wildfire throughout the whole country. Unbelievers sneered at the prediction, and the enemies of the church called it a huge hoax that the church was trying to put over on the people. For them, October the 13th would be a day of great celebration, the day when the hoax would be revealed. The children were greatly saddened at the unbelief of so many, but they had full trust in the goodness of Our Lady, so they had no worries. Many newspapers and magazines, including the journalist Avelino de Almeida, published a satirical article on the whole business in the anti-religious newspaper O Secular. On the morning of October 13th, 1917, fear and panic prevailed in Fatima. Rain was pouring from the heavens, a sad beginning for the glorious day promised by Our Lady and the children. The rain, however, did not dampen the spirits of the many thousands of people who came from every section of Portugal to witness the miracle promised. Many pilgrims walked barefooted, reciting the rosary as they went, all crowding into the area around the cova. Away at Lucia's home, everyone was disturbed. Senhora dos Santos was sad, as she had never been before. She feared that this was Lucia's last day on earth. Tears running down her face, she looked at her daughter, who tried to cheer her.
Don't fear, little mother, for nothing will happen to us. Our Lady shall do what she promised.
When Lucia was ready, Senhora dos Santos decided to go also.
If my daughter dies, I want to be at her side.
The children reached the home oak around noon, and they were overwhelmed with the crowd.
What is the time of apparition?
At noon.
Look, it's already noon.
Our Lady never lies. Let us wait.
A few minutes went by. The old priest looked at his watch again and said,
Noon is gone. Everyone out of here. The whole thing is a hoax. I knew it.
Just then, Lucia saw a flash.
Silence! Silence! Our Lady is coming!
Our Lady came. She slowly rested upon the branches of the tree.
She's here! I am looking at her, Mother. What does your grace want of me?
I want a chapel to be built here in my honor. I am Our Lady of the Rosary. Continue to say the Rosary every day. The war will end soon, and the soldiers will return to their homes.
I have many things to ask you. To heal some sick people and to convert some sinners. And
Some, yes. Others, no. People must amend their lives and ask pardon for their sins. They must not offend our Lord any more, for he is already too much offended.
do you want anything more?
Nothing more.
Then neither will I ask anything more of you.
Our Lady started rising up slowly, and as she went higher, she opened her hands that emitted a flood of light.
There she goes! There she goes!
It was at this precise moment that the clouds were quickly dispersed and the sky was clear. The sun was now pale as the moon. Then, slowly, the image of Saint Joseph, holding in his left arm the child Jesus, appeared to the left of the sun. He slowly raised his arm and, together with child Jesus, made the sign of the cross 3 times. Our Lady, in the meantime, stood in all her brilliancy to the right of the sun. As the children stared, enraptured by these most beautiful heavenly visions, the countless thousands of people were amazed and overpowered by other miracles in the skies. The sun now shone in an indescribable color.
I can look at the sun with ease.
Everybody stood still and quiet, gazing at the sun. At a certain point, the sun stopped its play of light and then started dancing. Some of the people gathered were afraid. Witnessing the miracle, they thought they were going to die that day.
Our Lady, save us!
Some begged for mercy, and some were confessing their sins out loud. At last, the sun swerved back to its orbit and rested in the sky.
I'm alive! I'm alive!
Everyone was relieved when this tremendous miracle got over. The miracle had come to pass at the hour and day as designated by Our Lady. Countless physical cures of the blind and the lame were reported that day. The miracle is reported to have been seen from as far as 15 to 25 miles away, thus ruling out the possibility of any type of collective hallucination or mass hypnotism. Doubters and skeptics had become believers. Even Oseculo's chief editor, Avelino de Almeida, now reported affirmatively and stood by his story later. After the last apparition, the three children tried to return to their ordinary routine life. People flocked to see and speak to them. The poor, the rich, even priests came. They asked 1,000 different questions, but the answers were always the same. The innocence and simplicity of the three children were proof of their truthfulness to everyone around them. To see them was to believe in them.